right, as I was saying, um, our code works in such a way that if we had said if it's touching yellow, or if we didn't write this and we specified for each color it wasn't supposed to touch, then we would have to change the code a lot. But we made it such that if it's not touching white, then it'll go back to original position. So boom, it goes back. And so we would continue this for all the levels that you can go to. It says score over here because we had made the variable score, but we can change this. So we can say whenever it goes to a new backdrop, we can change the score by one. So if it's not if touching red, then we change the score by one. So we click on this, um, and we start again basically, and we go here. User make a mistake. Okay, then they go back. Score changes to one, as you can see here. So basically, you can call this level. You can call it whatever you want. But basically, that's the general idea. You can keep going on with this and make a whole bunch of games, and you can make intricate mazes and whatnot in this method. Um, but the idea is the student should be introduced to the general blocks, as I had done in these videos. They're going to be told these are what the blocks are. This is what you can do. What these things do. And basically go on as I had explained before, what each of these blocks are meant to do, and then they can follow everything that I had just done is basically following the different instructions given here. Um, and little by little, of course, they shouldn't touch this place because this is for the coding space startup. They don't want any extra submissions, but um, the idea is they will follow this and they would make something like this. And as can be seen, there's a lot other different kind of projects they can go to. For example, they can make all these cool other games um, eventually as they progress and learn more Scratch. Um, but in general, to sum up things, is this is just how to use Scratch, um, and the idea is students can go ahead and try experimenting with Scratch and start playing around with it, playing around with simple motions, with simple conditionals, and then if they have questions, they would ask, and the instructor's job is to basically help them figure out um, what would be the right thing to do. So, for example, if let's say we had gone to a point where the student didn't know how to make the to make it such that whenever this little guy, the sprite, is off white, is out of the white region, or touches another color, that it should go back. So what we can do is ask questions such as, um, where do you want it to go back to, right? And so the child will know where it wants to go to, um, and then you can go ahead and point them. Okay, is there something here that tells us how we can tell the little sprite to go somewhere? And either they figure it out, they go through each of the blocks, or you guide them to that specific block. Like maybe look in motion. For you'd say basically maybe look in motion, and they could go ahead and experiment with each one. Um, and then they would ask, okay, it's still not working because it's not, whenever it touches another color, it's still not going back to position. So you can say, how can we know? How can we tell it to not touch anything but white? Um, and then maybe they can go to sensing and see, okay, if it's touching, okay, touching colors. So it has a touching and it says color. Um, and then they would ask, how do I go about using this? And something that I would say is, can you tell me exactly what you want to happen? And then sometimes a student would say, well, if it touches this color, then such and such should happen. And they basically answer their own question. So you would say, how can we write that here? And if they don't really at first don't know it, you can say, okay, let's go to control. Is there anything here that has it? And then they would see the word if. And the shape is supposed to help them understand that this kind of thing goes into this kind of shape. So they would go ahead and use the if statement. Um, and then they would specify colors and whatnot. and then they would use the goal to, for example. So they would work through that, and if they realize that it's not doing what they want, you can ask them to, why don't we go ahead and put in a forever loop, or why don't we try this? And then once that the student accomplishes it, it's important that the instructor tells them why it works that way. And then let's say the student is later doing a different project and they're still having the same issue. You can tell that student to refer back to this project. And as they progress along, it's what will happen is the students will have a more intuitive sense of how to go about using all these blocks and what they should do and when they should use a forever loop and whatnot. So yeah, I hope this helps.